the conscious man.
Welcome to another episode of the podcast.
What is a conscious man? Today we got Jace and Jace.
Jace and Jace, dude, the aces, bro.
The aces. Jace Conrow.
Yeah, that's my name.
Thank you for coming, bro.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We have known each other for
We go
6
back.
weeks.
Maybe 7, dude.
Yeah, maybe 7.
Yeah.
But many lifetimes.
Oh, yeah, bro.
Yeah, bro. We just like connected instantly. And
Yeah.
I love everything that you're doing. It was cool because we went down to your house in Hurricane. I met you there through our buddy Zach.
Yep.
And we immediately got to the house with a bunch of guys, and like you immediately opened it as like this men's circle, and that everyone go around and share and talk about, you know, what they're doing, their intentions.
Yeah.
And immediately I was just like, oh, this guy gets it.
Right.
You know, like this guy's my vibe.
Yeah.
So the podcast is called The Conscious Man. So every guest that I have on, I ask them, what does it mean to you to be a conscious man?
I mean, that's a loaded question, but I mean, I think it depends. Like when you look at what that means, it depends on where you're at. You know, I think that consciousness can be a lot of different variables depending on what your experience is. And, you know, for me, I know that how I defined being conscious evolved through my experience.
Yeah.
Which is cool because I think that that's the way it's supposed to be. And I think that we gain these definitions through experience, and they change and they evolve. I know throughout my life, you know, it kind of came from more awareness. You know, being conscious just means like, hey, I choose to be present. I choose to actually live life with like awareness around me and like purpose. That was always kind of my take on it. It was like, that's what it means to be conscious. I don't want to just be a robot moving through life. And I think that it's easy for people to get into that.
Right.
Because, you know, depending especially on your upbringing and your background, we move through things through either like instruction, structure, you know, processes, you know, our upbringing, you know, a lot of our things in religion too. So I think that, you know, a lot of people can be aware of what they're doing, but they still are on kind of autopilot.
Yeah.
And, you know, consciousness starts to evolve when you start to actually take a step back from the doing that you're doing and why are you doing it? And for me, that's when the consciousness starts to expand.
Yeah, when you zoom out.
Yeah. And that's when it gets fun because now you're not just doing, you're starting to look at things through a lens of like, I'm seeing it all now. And now I can actually pick and choose, like, why am I doing this? What is my purpose and what I'm doing? And does that align with me? Does it actually feel right? Like, does it resonate with me? And I think that that's when you start to like really evolve into that consciousness, especially as a man, because like you start to realize like, wait a minute, as a man, I'm used to doing, because like we all have that drive in us as men. We want to go and we want to be doers. But when we take a step back as men and we can actually like evaluate like what is our doing for us, right?
Yeah.
Then we start to have a bigger like scope on things, and that consciousness actually starts to have intention behind it. And I feel like that's for me where I've gotten to with being a conscious man is like having that intention of knowing what my doing stands for and why I'm doing it, and like does it align with me? You know, am I just trying to check things off the list, or am I wanting to do things that align with what I feel my purpose is? And that's different for every man.
Sure.
But it's still a choice to evaluate that and look at it, because that's really when you start to become very conscious of what you do. And that, for me, that's where I've seen the evolvement of my consciousness, because I feel like I've always wanted to be aware. I never wanted to just do things because I had to. And obviously my background, the way I grew up, it was like, you know, there was a religion side to it. Then there was a complete polarizing side to that religion, because like my dad had, you know, no religion at all, didn't grow up in any kind of religion. And so on my mom's side, it was like, it goes way back generations. And so I kind of was able to actually step back even as a kid and kind of see the two polarities. And that was an interesting thing for me, because like I knew what my mom wanted me to do. And like, obviously my dad supported my mom and what she wanted for us. but I was able to actually see how different those things looked and the doing, right? Because my mom had like very much like, this is the way it is, this is the way it has to be. And then my dad's just kind of like, you know, maybe not doing as much as he should, but he's just, I'm just kind of moving with things.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting polarity for me to see, because I was like, I there's good in both of those things for sure. But like, you know, that helped me kind of actually just from a young age be like, wow, I am aware of that those two things are different, you know? And so that was able to kind of help me step into, well, what is it that I see and how do I see it?
Yeah.
So.
It's interesting because you say that, and it makes me think, like, is our doing aligned with the way that we are programmed and our past and what we came from, which is the way so many people operate, which is that autopilot, right? Or is our doing aligned with our future and the purpose that we want to be moving towards and intentional for the life that we want to live, not just the life that we were given?
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of what I pulled out of what you said. But yeah, that's cool, man. I like that. So tell me a little bit about your story. So you're business owner, because I kind of want to see where you went from being an entrepreneur to getting into the more purposeful stuff that you're kind of moving into with the men's work.
Right.
When did you start your first business?
Let's see. I started my first business. I was 20. I mean, obviously I started a bunch of little businesses throughout. Sure. I mean, we've all had that. But like my first like very intentional business where I was like, you know what? I'm used to kind of always doing things on the side because like I could never get away from it, even when I'd be going to like, you know, trying to be like, oh, I got to go to school, even though I'm like, I hate school. Why am I going to school, dude? I freaking hate it. But I was like, you know, I gotta do these things. And it was kind of like that same thing, right? Like where I had these processes that I knew didn't really align with me, but I felt like, you know, still that I had to follow these processes to find my alignment. It was a very interesting thing for me to experience because I knew it didn't really resonate with me, but I was like, well, it is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, and so that was, you know, I was young. I was 22 at the time. And so I went back to college and started doing those things. And dude, I was not there. Like, it was just like, I was like, at one point I was like, I'm just literally filling space. This is ridiculous. But I would always be doing things on the side. And like, that was actually a really good experience for me because I realized like where my heart was or where my passion was, you know, I would do this thing over here, but this is where I would end up putting my extra time at. And so that was kind of like where I realized I was like, I kind of like doing things on my terms.
Yeah. And
like every time I'd work for somebody, I would be like, let me fix your situation and how you're doing this. And they'd be like, no, how about you do your job? I'm like, okay. So like that was good for me though to experience that because I started to realize like, oh, I actually want to do things the way that I want to do them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't from a place of like, I'm better than you. It was just like, if I see something that could be better, I'm like, why not make it better?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in a lot of times in an employment situation, you can't really do that fully. Like, it depends on who you're working for. Some you know, employers, if they're in the right space, they're like, please.
Yeah.
Like, I want your help because that's why I hired you.
Right.
But other people are like, no, this is your job and stick to it and leave that to me. I'm the business owner, you know? I remember very distinctly, actually, when I was like 25, 26, and I was working for he was kind of ended up being my mentor, honestly, in the car industry because I never understood the car industry because when I was like 17, 18, I sold for Ken Garf. You don't learn anything. That's very corporate. But like he had probably like 80 to 100 car dealership. I went up to Portland, lived up there. I'd met him because I bought cars from his brother for like I did summer sales. I buy them, use them, flip them.
Yeah.
And so then I ended up going up and he was like, dude, if you're so good at this door-to-door stuff, why don't you come show me? And I was like, all right, dude, I'll come up there. And so I went up there and actually took my good buddy who was knocked doors with me as well, Bradley. And we went up there and I set up his he didn't even have finance. He didn't have like any really structure. He was just kind of like flying by the seat of his pants.
Yeah.
But he'd been doing it for like 8 years. And so he was pretty stuck in his ways.
Yeah.
But I think he was getting to, maybe. I don't know, dude. Tell me. But no, I mean, it was interesting to see him in that because he was 8 years in. And I think that he was finally at a point where he'd been stubborn, but he was like, you know what? Like, I've been doing this for 8 years and I'm not really getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I was like, dude, Leo, like, just trust me. Like, you haven't really grown. And like, and you got a good thing. And like, that's why I'm here. But like, let's make these changes and you got to spend some money, bro. I'm not cheap.
Yeah.
But like, I'll make you a lot of money. Like, just let me do these things for you. And so I was grateful that he was willing. It took a lot of selling on my point because he's a very stubborn dude.
Yeah.
But he was like, you know what? All right, let's go. And so that was really cool because I got to come in there in an operation that really only had a recon shop that got the cars ready and all that. And then there was really no sales floor. They had like one guy that was selling for him, and that was it. And then Leo. And so Brad came up, I set up finance, I set up the sales, and it was just really cool to like go through the process and build something from scratch. But, you know, it wasn't mine, but like I felt like I was building my own business kind of. And so I appreciated that he allowed me to have that flow through it to kind of, you know, move things where I wanted to. Obviously, there's some things where he's like, no. But, you know, I always was like pushing to move things and adapt them. And that was when I really realized like where my gifts were and what I liked, because I was like, dang, like I'm kind of good at this. I kind of like it. And so it was really cool because it gave me an opportunity to learn all the like little nuances of like what it takes to have a dealership and like, you know, lenders and financing and like how you get your inventory. Like I didn't understand like really any of that because I just flip cars on the side. So it's a lot different when you talk about a full operation. So that was super cool for me. And that's when I kind of was like, okay, after I did that for him, took him from a warehouse he'd been renting for 8 years. He bought like a multi-million-dollar building, went to like multi-hundred, like 200-300 car inventory. Like, it, you know, he just blew up. Like we took him from selling 30-40 cars a month. I mean, by the tail end of me working for him, we were probably doing about 180 to 100 cars a month. Wow. So it was cool because I did feel like proud of it. I was like, oh, I got it. Like, and I was, you know, I was stoked for Leo. Like it helped him a lot. And like, you know, I was like, dude, that's awesome. Like I'm freaking stoked for you. I would have probably stayed there, but like, I think that the tension at that point, it was just like the more successful he got through what he could clearly see was a lot of my efforts. I think it was like, I don't know how, he didn't know how to handle that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think it really, like, his ego just would come in and he would just, like, we'd get in these blow-up fights over the dumbest stuff. Yeah. And so I was like, all right, man, like, I'm 2 minutes late and you're going to, like, treat me like some weird, shitty employee when I've, like, built your business. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not, like, that doesn't jive with me, bro. And so, like, that's how we pretty much just end up going our ways. He's like, I don't need you. Like, I could do this without you. I'm like, okay, dude, sounds good. You're right. Bye. And so, like, you know, obviously, I have a lot of love for Leo. Like, I actually was just down at his, he's gotten really big now. Has an exotic car dealership down in Scottsdale. I was just down there with him. He comes, picks me up, gives me a Ferrari, Lambo. And we're just, like, hanging out. He actually sold my McLaren for me. So, like, we've stayed close, but I haven't seen him for years. And it was cool because the first thing he says is like, dude, like I will say, because I had like my buddies in the car with me when he picked us up, and he's like, I will say, dude, Jace like taught me some good stuff. Like I didn't want to spend money on people. I didn't want to like trust the people and let the experts come in and do things. I was trying to do it all my way. And I will say, Jace taught me one thing was like spend the money on the right people and like let them do their thing, because like they are the professionals.
Right.
And I was like, dude, that was cool, you know? Like, I was like, thanks, Leo. Like, I was like, bro, and you taught me a bunch, bro. He's like, oh, I know I did. I was like, Leo, you're so funny, bro. But it was cool going down there just a few weeks ago and experiencing that.
Yeah.
And then just seeing where he's at now. Like, he's one of the biggest exotic car dealers, you know, in the States. And I'm like, that's so freaking cool, bro. And he's like, here, let me show you the building. I was like, got this. And I was like, dude, that's so sick. You know, I was like, this is dope, bro. I was just so stoked for him. Yeah. But it was cool to just have that, you know, brotherhood to a different level. It was a business type brotherhood, but it was like we had this mutual understanding of like he knows where I've been, what I've gone through, and like what he's went through, and just having that like understanding, being in the trenches together in that industry. It's cool to have that like mutual respect, and I don't know. I was really grateful for us. I didn't see it coming. Yeah. He was just originally selling my car, and you know, he sold it, and then I was like, "Where's my money?" He's like, you know, typical Leo, like, "Well, I got this Rolls Royce, I got to pay," but I'm like, "Hey, no worries, dude. I'm gonna be on my plane. I'll be there a little bit." And he's like, "Oh, dude, like I'll have the money tomorrow." I'm like, "Damn, I'm already coming." So like I shot down there, but I wanted to just go hang out because I have friends down there. So I was like, "I'll just go down. I want to see your dealership anyways, bro. I know you'll pay me. I'm not worried about it." Just giving him a hard time, but it was cool. I'm glad I went down there and I got to talk to him and see his operation, and obviously got to rip some fun cars. And
do those exotic car dealers make money?
Oh, dude, I mean, they do because like there's a lot of different nuances that you can like. They're very different. Like they don't really make a lot of money on those cars, but it's so interesting how that business works, because a lot of those exotic car dealers, they don't actually carry their own inventory or own it.
Right.
80% of their business is consignments, So they're really making money out of thin air. Which Leo's like, dude, he's like, I don't know why I didn't do this. Like, he obviously had to build his brand with a lot of his own inventory, but then once he started getting that brand of like recognition where people are like, I want you to sell my car, he's, now he's got $25 million. If you looked at his inventory, he's got $25 million of vehicles. I mean, he probably owns like maybe 10% of that. Yeah. So it's a cool business. And like he, and that one thing I like about Leo is like, which helped me when I started my business, is he was very transparent about how he did things. He would do it more from probably a bragging standpoint, but I was like, thank you for the information, Leo. Like, keep telling me more, like brag away. But he is one of those guys where he's like, I'll tell you everything I do. Yeah. Because he's excited about it and he knows it works. And he's not a guy that thinks like, he's not worried about competition. Right. He's like, dude, this is how I do it. And like, here's what I've learned and here's how we were doing it. And it didn't work good here. And we're going to move over here. And so like, it was just cool. Like, he literally probably gave me a full 10 years worth of education and like a 30-minute car ride with him to his dealership. I was like, dude, Leo, you're freaking the man. So that was cool. I learned a lot of nuances about the exotic car industry that I was like, because I do exotics too for fun, but I never could understand them because I'm like, dude, how do these guys make money on these cars? They're so hard to sell. Yeah. The customers are freaking tricky. These guys have money, like, you know. So it was cool just to learn a little bit. But that was basically the slingshot for me, was like doing that for Leo, even though at times I was like, it could be irritating because you're building someone's business to that level. But I was like, dude, I learned so much. And it also gave me the confidence to be like, dude, if I did that for him, like, why can't I go do this for myself?
Yeah. And even better because it's yours.
Yeah, I don't have any roadblocks. Yeah. Jace gets to run the show. And like I was like, I want to do it that way. So that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to come back to Utah. Because obviously all my family lived here. And I was like, I just would like to get back to my roots. Mm-hmm. And I was like, if I'm going to do a dealership, like, it makes the most sense to do it in Utah. And I honestly felt like the car market was really starting to take off in Utah back in 2015. Yeah. Because I also were still kind of coming out of the recession years, and things were starting to get better. Yeah. Real estate was starting to pick up, and I kind of saw the writing on the wall. I was like, dude, there's going to be a time to do it. Like, I got to do it now. And because I know that I've been resistant to it. Yeah. Because it's hard when you're like, you're building your savings, you're saving money. I was doing very well in like my sales jobs, and like I was like, dude, I'm really good at running dealerships. Like, I could make a lot of money as a GM because that's what I was. I was like, I could probably make killer money. Like, I'm giving up $200,000-$300,000 a year easy if I go do my own thing, right? And I have enough money to get just a handful of cars, and then I need to like get flooring lines and debt. Yeah. And I was like, I can't afford a warehouse and a place to live because, like, after using my money for the cars and all that, so I was like, dude, this is going to be tight. And, like, I literally moved into the warehouse. I set up a washer and dryer. Like, my office is down here. My loft is up here. Me and Brad are sleeping upstairs. It was wild. Mosquitoes were biting us at night because I opened the garage door because there's no AC in the warehouse. Oh, yeah? Dude, it was wild. I mean, but I was like, I was all in. I was like, dude, it's like either I'm going to make it or I'm done. Like, and I'll have to be back at ground zero. But that's fine. Like, I knew I had enough skills. I could work for somebody. Right. But I was like, dude, I'm 26. Like, now's the time. Right. Not married or anything. So I'm like, I'm going to go for it. So I did. I just was like, all right, I'm going to take everything I learned. And obviously, I completely pivoted because I started with what I knew. With Leo's and the inventory he kind of sold, and I was like, dude, this isn't going to work. Like,
what was that? Just cars? Just normal cars?
Yeah, it was like, sports cars. Like, we sold a lot of we did branded title stuff. He had a full recon shop, but a lot of them were like STIs, Mitsubishi Evolutions back then, and those were just booming. Yeah. But I was like, dude, they're so expensive, and like the margins are really not that good, and I don't have the volume that he had, so I was like, I can't open up a 60-car dealership to make money. Right. I was like, I'm working with 10 cars, like maybe 15, right. So I was like, I gotta pivot. And so I just kind of like one day was thinking about it, and I was like remembering when I was doing summer sales one year, and I bought this car accidentally. I was trying to buy this WRX on auction, and like, I don't know what happened. I fat fingered and like hit a button and like bought this other Honda Civic that was not. Shit. I was like, oh, what have I done? I'm screwed. And then it was like $8,000, and I'm like, wow, what? That doesn't make sense. The car's like 2 years old and like has 15,000 miles. Like, how was it $8,000? And then I like read, and it's like says hell damage, and then like I look and all the glass is broken. I'm like, oh, freaking hell, what have I done, dude? I'm like, this isn't good.
You're being guided though, huh?
Dude, I think so. With my finger, dude, just doing whatever it wants. Like, he's like, did it buy you? So I was like, oh, freak, it really stressed me out because I was like, and it was in Nebraska and I didn't have money for shipping. So I was like, I got to fly out there and go grab this car. Like, luckily it drives, but it doesn't have glass. So I was like, called a glass company. I was like, hey, so I got this car at this auction. Could you guys pick me up from the airport, take me to the auction and do the glass there so I can drive it? And he's like, sure. I was like, all right, cool. So like that was really what I'm so glad that happened because that was a few years prior. But I remember this car distinctly because, dude, I drove the shit out of it, and it was awesome. And I was like, dude, this is such a cool car. And I put like 50, 60,000 miles on it. And I remember when I went to sell it, I threw it online. I had 10 people, bro, fighting over this car. Like, and I was like making $3,000 after putting 50, 60,000 miles on. Wow. And I was like, dude, people really like are down for this. Like, they don't care about the dings. Like, I didn't care. Like, the car ran great. Like, it was all original. So that was just like a crazy thing. And I remember distinctly when I hit that wall, opened the dealership, and I was like, dude, I'm not going to be able to do this. I can't make any money on these cars. Like I don't have enough money to have enough cars to justify these small margins. And so I was like, I just don't know if it's going to work. And then that just like popped into my head. I was like, dude, remember like you bought that Hell car? Like, try some of those, like throw that in the mix. Like, you don't have to go all in, just dabble in it. And dude, like, freaking rest is history. Like, that changed everything for me. Like, that allowed me to be able to scale and like make enough money to like really grow my business properly and still give people a ton of value, you know? And like, obviously the sales process is a little harder because most people are just stubborn and they don't realize how good of value they're getting, but they see the dings, they're like, oh, I don't want a car with dings on it. It's like, dude, you're getting this car. It's a commuter car, first of all, and it's brand new. And you're saving like thousands and thousands of dollars, and it's all original condition. It just has dimples on it. Like, this isn't the end of the world, people. And so I had to come up with a sales process because you have to like really work people through that. But once people buy them and they own them, they will not get rid of them. Like, people won't even trade it back into our dealership. It's like, they like, oh, we just want another one. I'm like, okay, well, you sure you don't want to trade it in? They're like, nope. Because they see the value so quickly once they own it. And so that was really cool going through that process and then coming up with a niche to where I became the biggest seller of Hell cars. I mean, really, we buy them all. Like, anything that's available in the country, we take them all. Yeah. And, you know, we have like very specific like layouts of how our sales process, we've had guys try to do it. And like, if you don't have the sales process and almost like the flow of the building for that sales process, you won't be able to sell them. It doesn't matter how good of a deal it is because customers need to understand the value before they even see the car. Yeah. Because they got to understand what they're getting. And once you can kind of get them there, they'll drive the car and then they're like, dude, this is awesome. Yeah. And so it was just a really interesting experience for me to going from like feeling like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm not going to make it, to then this idea pops in and I just say, screw it. Like, I'm going to try it. And then, dude, I couldn't keep up with it. Like, it just blew up, you know? So, and then that led into all my other stuff and other dealerships. And, you know, I do different things that aren't, like, we have another dealership that's in Salt Lake and we do more of the branded title stuff, like diesel trucks, like more expensive stuff. But there's no way I could start with like that kind of inventory. Like, I love Parkline. Parkline Motors is super cool and it's like super flashy and bougie. Yeah. But like GP, I mean, that's the that's the mothership. I have so much love for GP and like what she put me, like was able to give me to and like able to help me grow and like just, dude, she sacrificed for me. Like, I have so much love and respect for that business and what GP is and the size of the business and the people that are at GP. I mean, I have guys that have been there for 6, 7, 8, 9 years, bro, since the beginning. And it's just cool now to be in that place and see where it's evolved. So yeah, it's been a cool journey, bro.
Now she's going to provide a space for us to do some men's work.
Dude, I know. I built that building, bro, and I was like, why am I building like a 2-story building that has like all this crazy like office space? Because like office in my mind, I was like, well, I can lease it out to like a law firm or whatever because it's a big suite. But ultimately, I was like, it's kind of weird to have a dealership on this whole main level and then even there's a spa in one of the corners of the other side, and then I have my private offices. But then we have this huge suite that a real estate company that's been leasing for the last couple of years. And I was always like, that's so weird why I did that. But, you know, now it's like, now that it all came together and we went through that experience a couple of days ago, I was like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, now it's starting to make sense.
It is, bro. And it was a really painful process, dude, getting commercial real estate and buying land that you're like, why did I spend $1 million on dirt and I have never even bought a house for myself? Yeah. What am I doing, dude? Like, I was like, literally like, I'm the dumbest person to ever live. Like, I've lived in a townhouse and I'm like, yeah, I'll buy this $1 million piece of dirt. I'll build a building on it one day, but I can't afford to do it now. So I'm going to park cars on the dirt and just hope for the best. It was just like, it was a really interesting experience evolving through that, bro. Yeah. But I'm so glad that I did, because I had to overcome a lot of blocks and fears to make those decisions to actually grow. And that's what most people don't understand. They're focusing on growing, but what they don't realize when it comes to growth, especially in business, is that they're not addressing their fears and their blocks. They're just focusing on, I need to grow. What do I got to do to grow? It's like, well, first off, dude, where are you at with yourself?
Yeah, where are you stopping yourself?
Yeah, because you have some major blocks usually with what your decision making, and you're holding the reins so tight that you'll never be able to make the decisions that will allow you to get to the growth.
Yeah.
So you need to start here first and like talk yourself through that and work through those things. Once you do that, now you'll start growing. It's not the other way around though.
Right.
And so that was a really good learning experience for me. It was like learning how to work through blocks, learning how to work through fears, learning how to do internal work before I put all my focus in growing.
Yeah.
You know, like that was a big deal for me.
When did you get started on like a spiritual path, and like what, like you say you know, like inner work, like was there some sort of an awakening that you went through? Have you always been sort of like a spiritual person? How was that process looked for you?
Born amazing. I mean, I hate to brag to you. I was just there. Just kidding, bro. No, honestly, for me, there's just been a lot of things that have happened throughout my life that this, going back to the consciousness and awareness, is like they were happening, but I maybe just wasn't aware of them.
Sure.
And so for me, I think that was the big shift that happened for me, is like I was really leaning into a higher side of myself a lot through my growth for several years. But what was really cool was when I jumped into the experience of like men's groups, and my good buddy Christian Santos, who had been trying to tell me about this stuff, and I'm so busy, like I gotta freaking build these businesses, like Christian, I'll get around to it, bro. I know, why are you doing this, bro? Like focus on making money, you know? And he's like, dude, it's really helped me. And like he told this stuff to me like four and a half years ago, probably 5 years ago, and then I remember one day, it was like probably the beginning of 2022, and I was like, bro, remember that thing you told me about, this retreat or men's group? I don't remember what it was, but like, dude, it pinged me so hard that I almost was like, why is this pinging me so hard? Like this, he brought this up 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, going to that group and that men's group thing that I went to with Christian, you know, and having the experiences of just talking to other men that are going through some hard things, and like getting to almost analyze myself through other men. That was really cool, because I got to see parts of myself in every person that I was interacting with, and it taught me so much about myself. And it also just actually brought awareness to me of things that I would do, and that I realized that other men don't know like how that works. They don't understand it. There's a big disconnect there for a lot of these men that, you know, I've been on this path of making these tweaks and these little things internally with myself, and a lot of men are just like, they're so focused on the stuff and getting there that they never like really visited that. Yeah. And so for them, they look at me over here with all these things or whatever they think is amazing, but they're like, how? And I'm like, well, don't you like, what do you think about yourself? Like, how do you like, what do you do on the day to day? Like, who are your friends? Like, what are your hobbies, or what, you know, just asking some questions to figure out kind of what their reason is for why they're even like shooting for all this stuff over here, and then finding out that they have no idea why they're doing it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Like that's I didn't have awareness that I was doing that at a level that most people aren't. Yeah. And so that was where I was like, you know what, dude, like the amount of dudes I was even like, first off, I learned from them and I was grateful for that, but it's just to be able to guide them with love and be like, dude, it's okay. Like, you're being really hard on yourself, bro. Like, you know, like that's most men.
As we do.
Yeah, we beat ourselves up. But like some men are brutal, bro. Yeah. And they're so focused on like why I'm not here that they just are willing to just chop themselves to pieces over it. And it's like, bro, it's okay. Like, let's not be so hyper focused on this right now. Let's just like come back to here and what's going on over here. And then like when men start taking their walls down, I mean, that was awesome. And obviously, like, there's lots of avenues for that, right? I was almost not even really realizing, like, what a big tool that is for other men to have. And I was like, dude, I just really want to share this with other men. I want to be able to help them. Like, I'm not a perfect person by any means, and I have tons of work I always need to do, and, like, I know that. But, like, the disconnect that goes on with a lot of men, it's like a straight-up switch, bro. Like, they need to get that thing, like, turned on. Yeah. Like, and so they can actually now start connecting the dots. But like they have a big breaker that is just off.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, that's cool. Like I know I can and help men like turn that on. So then that way, this just becomes a basically an outcome of doing this.
Yeah.
Right. Getting all that, like their goals and cool stuff or whatever, being successful, like the business is killing it, whatever their ambitions are, like that will just be an outcome. It's not actually a driving force.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's when men start to get that. It's like, dude, who you are right now, pretty cool. Pretty awesome, dude. That doesn't define you. Right? That should just be an outcome of getting yourself even more dialed in.
Yeah.
And that was really cool, bro, to be able to watch men like connect that in real time. I was like, dude, I kind of like this. I was like, I'm not gonna lie, this is cool. Yeah. And I wanna help more men. Like if I can help them, like I know I've got all these things going on, but like I need to make more time for this because I think I just didn't have awareness enough that there's so many men struggling with this, with not connecting the dots, dude. And I'm like,
yeah,
we gotta help these men with that because so many are focused on this stuff and like that's almost what they do. It's so crazy. Like men are like, you know how I've connected the dots? Get the stuff. Be a real man. I'm like, dude, okay. Tell yourself that. Sounds good. Yeah. You'll get it. But let me know when you're there.
Yeah, let me know when you're there, and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
And then you'll see that external validation does not do what you were hoping it would do for you.
And then let me know when you're ready to stop lying to yourself that it does do something for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
But it's the way that we're conditioned. You know, we're conditioned as men to be able to provide and, you know, we get that external validation. And it's like you talk about that switch that needs to be turned on. It's like that switch is that awakening that it all exists within you. Yeah. Unless you want to continue to feed that endless loop of external validation, you need to be able to turn that switch on and see that you are already everything.
Yep.
Right. And you already hold all the validation that you need. Yep. Right. And the more you chase it outside of yourself, the more that you turn your attention away from the validation that already exists. Yep. Right. And then you feel like there's that hole. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the cool thing with men's work and kind of what you were talking about is like you know, the universe is a mirror. Yeah. Right. Your external world is a mirror of your internal world. Mm-hmm. Right. And the cool thing about men's groups that I have seen is that everything is a mirror. So why would I not be looking at the closest thing to me that is in this external reality, which is other men? Yeah. And like you say, you see a group of men and you can see yourself in every single one. And there's a lesson to be learned with every interaction that you have with those external mirrors that could show you more of yourself and turn you back inward so that you can stop seeking that external validation and see that it already exists within you.
Dude, you nailed it. Yeah. You nailed it. That is exactly what it is. And it's so simple, but yet it's a lot. And I get why men get lost in what it is, you know, because we like to almost overcomplicate things, right? We like to make it not simple because that means it's hard work.
And we like to work hard and bear our cross.
Work hard. I work hard. I'm a man.
Work hard for that external validation.
Yes. And that's the thing is like, it's just a huge distraction. And like, the thing is like men understand it, like subconsciously they feel it, that it's something's off, but they just, like I said, they don't want to let go. Right. And they want to be committed to the cause that they're right. And that getting, you know, trust me, like you see so many men that are trying to lead men and they're like, trust me, be a man, go get this stuff. Like, you know, provide for your family, like do all these things and help other men. And it's like, hey, but where are you connecting the dots for yourself first? Because I get that those are cool things and that there is value in those things. But when you bypass yourself and your shadows and the things that are pretty hairy, and you think that you're basically going to override all that stuff by like being a man and working hard and providing for your family, like you think that that's going to make that shit go away? Like, you're lying to yourself.
You'll be stuck in that endless loop of chasing it.
Yeah, because eventually it's going to be like, ding, 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 back here. Yeah. And it's like, remember this stuff? Ding, 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 oh, you're back here. It's like, what are you avoiding here? And, like, that's what men have to understand is, like, there's nothing bad about this over here. This isn't like, make you weaker. This doesn't make you less than. This doesn't mean that you aren't going to get over to these things that you're striving for. It doesn't mean that. And, like, men are so convinced that, like, if I just bypass that stuff, and I just go over here, like, then I did it. And it's like, I mean, okay, like, it's not really how it works, though. And, like, I think getting men to just put the brakes on for a second, I love ambition and drive, dude. I'm all about it.
Yeah.
But when men are just so willing to just gas pedal down and blow past all these things that they know internally are just ripping them apart, it's like, dude, I get you don't, it's hard. It's not fun to look at some of these things, but like, this is your purpose in here. When you handle these things, you now are centered in purpose. Right now, you don't have purpose. You have drive and you have wants. But like, purpose is in healing. Purpose is in centerment with yourself and in alignment with yourself and looking at the things that you know are going to be a little painful to go through, but you need to visit them because that's where your purpose is found and that's where who you are and where you resonate happens.
Right.
And all of this can be a powerful outcome of finding resonating in yourself and purpose. That's when all of this can be an amazing outcome.
It actually makes sense.
Now
and it actually
something.
means something. Yeah.
Yes. Now it's actually like, dude, I love this stuff over here now because I know who I am.
Right.
And this is just an outcome, and I don't put any value in it other than be like, thank you. This is cool. I get to do cool stuff. I get to go on trips. Like, I don't have to worry about money. Like, I can have fun. I get to drive these cool cars because I love to drive cool cars. But I'm not doing it for any of the wrong reasons because I did the work here.
Yeah.
So if I like cool cars, then drive them. But, dude, you'll find out over here real quick when you get the cool cars, if you've done the work over here, you'll be like, actually, I don't care about that stuff. You know, and you'll let it go.
Yeah.
You won't be death gripping the stuff that you don't even give a crap about. Like, you don't give a shit about those cool
cars.
cars.
It has no power over you.
Yes, it's not owning you, bro.
Right.
And that's what's so fun about doing this here. And that's where men they just straight up sit in the avoidance of it because they just validate themselves through the stuff, the success, you know, and like also like, hey, do all these other men know me and people look up to me? And it's like, dude, that's great. And I'm all about people looking up to people. But like, bro, if you're in avoidance, like who are you really hurting here?
Yeah.
You know, like, and I know it's hard because some of these men that are out doing things and trying to, you know, bless their hearts, dude, they're trying to help other men. And I respect the hell out of it. But it's like, dude, if you're avoiding all these things over here, though, and you're not going into the things you need to find purpose and truly what resonates, and you're over here honing in on these things to avoid all this, and you're trying to teach other men how to basically do the same thing, all of you together are going to end up being like, pew, pew, just all getting your ass kicked back. And then you're going to end up having fires of men that are just falling apart eventually and be like, well, I did all the things and I got all this stuff. And like, dude, I've lost everything. I'm not happy. Like, I don't even want to get up, you know, like it doesn't, like, they just are like empty.
Yeah.
And like, that's where it's like, I tell men, it's like, hey, if you want to lead, like, that's cool. But like, you don't want to have that responsibility on your shoulders of directing a bunch of men off the cliff and then have to go down and like hopefully rescue them before they die and bleed out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, I look at like, well, when men put other men on a pedestal, right? Especially when it's not coming from that place of life. There's nothing wrong with respecting a man.
No.
But there's a difference between that and putting this man on a pedestal because he gives you some sort of validation.
Yeah.
Right? When you're seeking that validation outside of yourself and you put a man on a pedestal or a man puts you on a pedestal and you can see that, you can just as easily become a doormat.
Yeah.
Right? So when it's not coming from that place of alignment and that place of like true respect because he's seeking for something outside of himself and he's seeking to extract from you rather than actually have a symbiotic relationship.
Well, and here's the difference. The man that's healed and that's done the work will never, ever let his brothers put him on a pedestal.
Yes. Yeah.
He won't. He'll kindly let them know, thank you. I appreciate the kindness and I appreciate how you're viewing me, but how you're viewing me is not for your betterment.
Right.
And I love you too much to let you do that.
Yeah, and that's true leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's love. And it's coming from healed love within yourself because you've done the work internally to know what love really looks like. And so you have no problem letting men know that with love, like, hey, thank you, but that's not what this is for. You know, I'm not your Lord and Savior.
Right.
I'm here to help.
Which we have been so conditioned to look for a savior in so many ways through religion. And, you know, it's that same concept of like our whole society and whoever is in charge of keeping us less powerful than we can be has programmed us to just constantly look outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
right? And in every single way of like, oh, if there's this savior can save me from my situation, then I don't have to take the responsibility to look inward and realize that I am my own savior, because it's so much easier to look outside of myself and be like, oh yeah, he'll take care of it. Right? But the true work is when you that endless loop, you eventually wake up to what it is, and then you're like, okay, I have to look in, and it's harder.
Yeah.
It's much harder to look inward than it is to look out. And, you know, for me, it's interesting because you talk about this process of where like men have to wake up to this idea that for example, the things, the external validation is not what is going to make you happy, and you need to align within yourself first. But like for my process and so many other men that I've seen, I don't know if this is how it has to be, but my process was I was chasing all that external validation. Right. You know, like buy a big house, make a lot of money, have all the toys, have a cool car, have a nice truck, right? And it was like years and years of like putting so much energy into that until I remember just like one day just being alone in my house and like looking around after the dopamine high of buying a nice house had worn off. And you know, because I put so much on like, oh, I have a big house, then like people will think differently of me, you know, like people will respect me finally.
I'm good enough, right?
And I remember just sitting there being like, wow, is this it?
Yeah.
Because I feel exactly the same as I did before.
Right.
And that was like a huge push to awaken to the fact that that wasn't it. Like the things would never fulfill me. No. And then I had to look inward, and that's when it got dark.
Yeah.
You know, so that part of the process, like I don't know that it was absolutely necessary, but for me, that was my process, is I had to go chase those things first. Right. You know, so I see a lot of these guys like doing it, and then to me, it's almost like if I can help them before they get to like a dark place, especially like a dark place that I went to, right, then great. Like I'll do my best to do it. But a lot of times it's like for them to flip that switch, it kind of does take, for some guys, a dark place.
Well, there's a level of darkness that comes, and the heavier the avoidance, the darker the dark.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the way it is designed. And it's like the more that we sit in that, like we're just building up the darkness, right? Because we're adding to it every day, and that's what men don't understand. It's like, dude, you're adding to your darkness every day you avoid. Yeah. It's not like it's like, well, I just got to visit the darkness from 10 years ago. It's like, no, every day you're not acknowledging things, you're doing things that are creating more darkness inside of you. And it's getting hard. It does get harder. Yeah. But like, that's why it's better if we can get to men sooner than later. It's like, let's visit the darkness now before it's going to engulf you. And like, you can still get through it even if it engulfs you. But like, hey, why torture ourselves? Like, we don't need that. We don't need to put ourselves through complete hell. Like, we just need to visit the things that are tough, and like, let's go through some pain, and it's okay because you need to, so you can understand like the light of the other side, how good that feels. Right. And so, yeah, I really think that's when I realized, I was like, dang, dude, like, I don't want men like waiting for this. And like, the more time that went by, like, I'm not obviously huge on social media, but like, I educate myself. Like, right, I look at what's going on in the world with other men. I look at social media to make sure I am aware of what's happening in every aspect. So like, I always will visit that. I'm not going to just turn my eye to like what happens in the world. Right. And so like, the more I started seeing what, you know, the opportunities presenting itself for money and social media, which presents himself in like coaching and like help, like I just was like, man, I'm really worried about some of these men, because I can see how easy it is to get this external validation through these coaches or whatever. Right. And it's like, look, like I said in the beginning, like I'm all about like helping men, like guys there's some great guys out there that do some amazing coaching. Yeah. And I think that there's a huge purpose and need for it. But I also know that there's a big drive money-wise behind that too. And like, it's like almost like that's its own business, right? Like it is its own mega
what it has become.
Yeah, like it's become a mega business. And I'm like, dang, dude, like dudes are making mega money. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I like making money. I mean, I'm all about it, but like, I'm like, dude, if the intention behind the dollars I make starts to get muddy and it starts to create darkness in other men, and like I know it's could potentially cross over to not do good things for these men.
And kind of feed that whole pedestal idea.
I know,
right?
and that worries me, and that really did concern me, and I think it's why I started to really just be like, you know what, I got to be a little bit more aware of things because there's things I'm going to need to do to help with this. I've done a lot of work for a lot of years to get where I am, and sometimes you just were like, I'm just want to enjoy the ride. Like, I just like living. Yeah. I got to that point where I'm like, dude, I love it. I love life. It's awesome. Like, dude, I have my hard days, but dude, I freaking love living, and you know this.
I know you do.
Dude, I love it.
Because we know how to live,
dude.
Bro.
It's the best, bro.
It's the best.
Dude, I love it. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Anything that I love, I do 120%. Yeah. Like, if it's cars, if it's like dirt bikes, side-by-sides, if it's just like having the best time and dancing with people, like, dude, I love it. It's so fun. Yeah. Like, going to cool places, trips, houses, bro, you name it. I've done all the cool shit that could look amazing on social media. Yeah. But I don't give a shit. I do it for me. And you know what? If someone wants to follow me around, document it. You know what? Like, dude, that's fine. If it can help men, like if I can figure out how to help men to be like, dude, you can have all that stuff and you can live. Yeah. But the way you live isn't through the stuff. That's just a tool. The way you live is through purpose and alignment with yourself and doing the work, right? And healing these things and realizing like, what's my purpose and why am I doing it? Being very intentional and teaching men how to do that. Yeah. That's how you really live. Because now you live with no external nothing. No, there's no pedestal of a guy you're trying to impress.
Outcomes don't change anything. Yeah.
No, you're just there for the moment because you want to be, and it's there for you, and you don't care you don't give a shit what anyone thinks about it. Yeah. You're like, this is bro, you guys can leave. I'm going to still freaking have the best time. Yeah. You can be part of it, but like, I don't care. Yeah. And that's where if you can get men to that point, it's so cool because then they can really connect with people in those moments, right? They can really connect with themselves. They can really actually connect with the tools we're talking about, the stuff. Yeah. They can actually have connection with it in a healthy way, which, right, that's huge. It's like, I'm not considering
for experience rather than validation.
Healthy connection to stuff is great. Yeah. It's the key word, healthy connection. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, trust me, I love stuff because it provides me to have fun and things that I love, but the baseline is I know it's my thing I love. That's the work over here, right? I know it's for me. Yeah. And that's where you don't muddy the stuff up because when it starts to become for other people or oh, now I'm cool enough, right? You see what I'm doing, people? Like, tell me I'm great. Like, please. Like, I won't say that, but like, that's what I want. Right. And like, that's where those tools become dangerous, right? Because that's when the darkness really can start building up,
Yeah, because ultimately it comes down to our base level coding of needing attention from other people to feel like we're not going to die, right? Which is like you get really down to the base level of things, and that's really dark if you don't deal with that. Yeah. Right? Because as a child, if you didn't get attention from your parents, you could die.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And so when we don't get that attention, then we seek to get it through all these external things that we're actually imprisoning ourselves to. Mm-hmm. Like a big expensive car that you don't really care about, but it's going to get you that attention from other people so you don't feel like you're going to die. Yeah. Right? That's a prison. Yeah. Right? That's not an experience anymore. Mm-mm. But if you can heal that part of yourself and realize that you actually don't need that external validation. You're not a 2-year-old child anymore that needs the attention from your parents that you're now seeking in other people. Now that thing can just become an experience and you can let go of that whole connection to survival. Yeah. Right?
Dude, I love that.
I went real deep there.
Dude, as you do, Chase. As I do. I love it, though, because that is ultimately when men do the work, they get to see where it comes from. And it does come from a lot of these childhood things. Yeah. And that's not just a one-off experience. That's pretty well rooted across a lot of men, right? Because our childhood imprints on us a lot of things and a lot of like processes, right? Like we really carry that with us because that's how we're forming ourselves and our identities get formed and who we are. And like there's just a lot that happens in those years. It's crazy how like 10, 12, 13 years of our life can like affect 80. Yeah. But like that's why it's so important for men to like visit those years. Like, dude, don't be afraid of it. Like, you don't let 13 years of your life ruin the next 80 to 100. Like, don't do that. Right. Like, it's not worth it. Like, quit living for your 13 years of childhood through your adult years. Like, quit living for those because you should be living for your adult years, not for your childhood years. But you're choosing to not be aware that you're doing that because you think you're doing big boy things and making big boy decisions, but it's coming from a little kid.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's a hard one to swallow for men because they're like, no, it's not. I'm a man. And it's like, bro, I get it. You look like a man and you definitely are doing some man things. But where you're at on the inside right now is from a hurt little boy. Yeah. And that's okay. Like, he wants to be seen. Yeah. So quit avoiding him.
But he can't be seen and healed by anyone but you.
Yeah, no one can do it for you.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're here to help guide you. And, like, that's why I'm more than happy to give that time and help men just with the right questions to walk them through it, because I think a lot of them just think it's way more like complicated, right? And it's way more like unknown than it is knowing. It's very much knowing, and they know what it is, but you just have to help guide them through it so that they realize, like, damn it, dude, why am I doing this? You're right. Yeah. Like, I didn't think about it that way. And it's just asking those right questions to these men helps them to spark something where they're like, okay, if I can give a man something to go and think about for a few days, I love it. I don't want them to figure it out with me sitting next to them.
Right.
It's not going to happen. It's like, and I don't want it to happen because it won't be genuine. Yeah. It's like, you need to go sit with these things, like think about these things, and dude, be gentle. Don't be so hard on yourself through this, but go think about it. And like, let's revisit this. And like, I've seen huge breakthroughs happen in men's lives where they've come back to me and they're like, bro, like I can't, like this thing came to me and I realized when I was like this and that, and I was really worried about how people viewed me this way. And like, the second I like decided like I'm not going to do that because there's no value in it, like whatever it was, like I'm just like, dude, that's awesome. Yeah. I'm like, dude, you're doing it, bro. And like, just keep going. Cause you see how good this feels? It's starting to lighten. You feel that weight on shoulder. It's kind of like coming up more. It's like, dude, isn't that cool? Because now it's going to make all this other stuff way more fun. Right. And I don't know. I just love that side of the work with men. Like that's when I really, like I said, going back to your original question, like that's when I think that spiritual side with, you know, our masculine side, like, and our human experience, like kind of bringing them all together. When I saw the awareness of like what I'd been doing on all these different planes, and that I was kind of connecting them, I was like, dude, a lot of men don't know how to do this. Mm-hmm. And like, that's okay. Like I can help them with this. Yeah. And that was when I was like, all right, like I'm down. Like I hear you, universe. Like, how can I be of service? Yeah. You know, because that's all I want to do. It's like, I don't need to make money off these men or whatever. Like it's like, dude, I got my things, dude. I love business, and I love being an entrepreneur. Like, and I love teaching people in all different aspects of life. But a lot of them want to just really focus on that. You know, they love when they see me and they see my cool shit. They love to be like, dude, what do you do? How do you do it? And I was like, dude, those are all great questions, but you're not ready for those ones. Yeah. Let's reel it back a little bit. Let's talk about some other things. Yeah. Because I'm more than happy to give you all the insights over here when you're ready for them. And when it will actually mean something for you, and you won't be imprisoning yourself. I'm not going to send you off a cliff, my man. Yeah. Like if I give you all these unlocks over here in entrepreneurship and business, and you're not ready internally, like I'm basically the one shooting you. Yeah. And like I have to be accountable to that. I got to hold myself accountable. And that's where it should start if you've done the work. If you're going to guide men, you better have some damn good accountability for yourself. Yeah. Not just be popping off information that could lead men to a place they're not ready for. Yeah, because it's going to make them put you on a pedestal. And so many men do that because they're like, yeah, give me the validation. Yeah. Put me on a pedestal. I want to be above you. They're over here leading men to feel validated. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, like you need to take a step back and do some healing, man. Yeah. Like you can help men, and like, but you're not ready either. And that's okay. Yeah, but just take a step back for a little bit, and that's been a huge part of my process too. It was like, you know, going into like this men's work. It's been such an interesting process for me because I kind of felt pushed into it in a sense where, you know, like originally 3 years ago, I was so fucking closed off. Like it didn't even, you know, I wasn't really even awake to how fucking closed I was most of the time because of, you know, just the way that I was brought up and the chaos that I faced as a kid, and the things that I had to handle by myself, that I just became this like hard shell that had to be strong. And, you know, but the universe started sending me these signals of this direction that I needed to move with the men's work. And then, you know, when I first started the men's group, that I put so much on it. It was like, oh, I have to have this certain amount of men, and then I didn't get as many men as I originally wanted, and then I just felt like shit about myself. Yeah. And then I had to come back to that, and I'm like, this can't be what it's about. This cannot be about you, you know. And I was receiving that signal from, luckily, like actually other men that were helping coach me through that process of like,
dude, what you're doing is amazing. Like, why does it have to be something for you to feel a certain way when you felt like you've been guided by God to do this? Give that to God because he's guiding you through this. Like, this doesn't have to be any sort of an outcome. You just want it to be some sort of an outcome because you want to feel the validation that you attach to that outcome, which will never actually feed you and fulfill you anyways.
Dude, never. And that's so cool, bro, because like you needed to experience that, right? Like you needed to go through that. And I think that the desire and the want to help men and coach them or whatever it is you want to do, it's like that's what people get so focused on. Like, hey, there's nothing wrong with those desires. And then actually the lessons to be learned to help refine you over here can be had in the motivation, the reasons why you have. But the problem is that if you have these desires and these things and then the insights start coming and you resist them and then you double down on like, no, like I'm doing it my way. It's like, bro, that darkness we talked about that you're piling up over here, like that shit's going to get big.
Right.
And now you're piling up other people's darkness. And so I think that's super cool to hear that you chose to be aware of these insights, right? These things you were coming to, you're like, wait a minute, why am I doing this? Like, it's so important to men to like realize like, dude, it's never just a one and done situation, right? It's check marks. Like you're hitting these checkpoints, and then you're pulling back and you're revisiting it. And always realize that I'm always learning and I'm always growing and I'm always trying to refine things and realize that you're never there. And that's okay. Yeah. But like a lot of men just think like, nah, dude, I did all this shit. Like you guys got to listen to me. I'm a bad motherfucker. Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, but you're not. You're not. You have a long ways to go, dude. And you can still be a cool dude and like be a bad motherfucker as long as like you're willing to hold yourself accountable every step along the way. Right. And then like also do it in a way where people can see it. Right. Like, oh, you're going to tell me about how accountable you hold yourself and it's all in a secret room? Cool. I'll see it. Yeah. Like you're not going to hide it from people that do it. But like most of them strategically place themselves in a way that other people can't see it. Right. Especially people that have done the work. And so, like, I'm all about supporting men to do that because it's like, dude, this isn't like a dick measuring contest here. We're not trying to be like, dude, oh, like, I'm doing the work more than you. It's like, no, like, dude, it's just love. Like, dude, we all have different levels of work that we're doing, and we all have different levels of progressions, and our souls are all at different levels of progressions. Right. And who we all are is different, and there's a reason for that. So it's so we can have community, and we can have a collective. You can't have a collective if everybody's all at the same place. Right. Like now, what's the point of each other?
There's no mirror there.
You're right. Yeah.
There's nothing to learn.
There's no guidance with that, and that's what people have to realize is like it's okay to be here and him to be here, she's here. Like it's okay. Like that's all right. But like being okay with like, hey, I'm not going to always hit the nail on the head. Like I might have a learning experience coming up, and that's okay. Like. And just taking that guard down to let it happen. And then if you have your brothers around you that can help you through it and support you through it, like that's freaking awesome, man. And like that's really how we progress and grow. And like I think that especially when men go down this coaching route or men's group route, they become a pedestal. And so now they're a god, basically. And so now they're basically like, I can't, any of my fuck ups have to be hidden from people because I am worshipped. Yeah. Like kind of a big deal. And it's like, no, dude, that's why you never want to make yourself on the pedestal. Yeah. Because if you ever put yourself in a place where you feel like it's a bad thing to be vulnerable and to make a mistake, you're in a bad situation now, bro.
You're in a prison again.
Yep. You just imprisoned yourself while you're trying to unprison other men. Yeah. Okay. Right. It's like a prison without a prison within a prison. It's like, okay, sounds good. Enjoy it. Yeah. It's like, dude, you don't have to build that though. Right. Like, and like having like good men around you is important because, good men that are understanding this process, dude, they're going to check you and you should listen because like, I want men to check me if I need to be checked. Right. Like, because it's like, dude, I know that there's going to be blind spots. Right. And like, I purposely put myself around men that I know and feel are like they're in it and they're doing it. And it's like, good, like I'm going to motivate you. And I know that there's going to be days where you're going to be like, hey man, like I saw this and just keep going. Like you've already done it for me, bro. Like, and I'm like, dude, I love that. Like, thank you. Thank you for that. Just like giving me that encouragement. You see, I'm struggling. You see, I'm going through a hard day or whatever. And with love, you're just like, bro, you got this. Like, you're not like, oh, dude, you're the best ever and you're killing it everywhere. There's nothing more you have left to do. You know what I mean? Like as much as like that might make me feel good for a microsecond, if you did that, like you're not really helping me. Right. So I like having accountability brothers, like I think that's so cool. And I think a lot of men get into these leadership positions, especially when they're like the main guy or whatever. And I think that they shy away from the accountability from other people, and they think that they have all the accountability to give. And I'm like, dude, not really.
I was literally thinking about this yesterday, dude, of like, because I was just sitting in my sauna, and I'm like, man, I really need to, I really need to seek out more constructive criticism from especially the young guys too, because there is a little bit of that power dynamic when you're kind of the leader of the group, right? Where those guys, they do put you on a pedestal a little bit to some degree, and like,
young men especially, it's very natural for them to do, and they don't even do it knowingly,
right?
And, and I appreciate it. Like it's easy to see it. Right. But like young men are very like kids, right? They're they haven't gone through like enough stuff to harden their shell, and that's why young men, when you get them young, are so easy to influence for the good, but they're also so easy to influence for the bad,
right?
Because they're just so willing to put almost anyone and everyone that they think says something cool. Okay, you're on the pedestal now because I liked what you said,
right?
And you're like, well, that wasn't really a good thing to say, but thanks, bro.
Yeah.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, that's where you have to have that awareness, right? Which is what you're telling me you've experienced. You're like, dang, these young men, like, I gotta be aware.
And I was thinking, like, what really makes a good leader is like someone who is really looking to those young men to build them into trustworthy men.
Yeah.
Because a trustworthy man is someone who can give constructive criticism to those who he looks to lead him. Right? And so many times when you're in a leadership position, you almost can't get that trust unless you're seeking out that constructive criticism from those below you, right? Like, how can you really trust anything that a guy that you're leading tells you if he can't criticize you?
I mean, it's really, and you have to be aware, but like, it's really good to give. It's really helpful to give other men, like, to show them what that looks like, right? It's like, and it almost might, I'll be honest with you, when it happens, most men, especially the younger men, and even the older men, are like, what's going on? Like, why is he doing that? Yeah. Like, why is he coming to us and like asking for this feedback? Like, it almost catches them off guard. It's like, I know he's the leader, but like, that's the biggest gift you're giving them. Is like, as a leader, you're like, hey guys, like, is there anything like, that you've noticed, like, you think I could improve on? Like, I'm always wanting to looking to get better, and I know that you guys probably have some good insights to things that maybe I'm not seeing. Yeah. Like, dude, that's such a like gift to give to those men, because a lot of men don't know what that looks like, especially when they look at someone as a leader and they're like, man, you know a lot and you're very knowledgeable and powerful, and like they're like, dang, teach me more, please teach me more, and you're like, I will, but like, this is also how I'm going to teach you. Yeah. It's like, I don't know everything. And I'm not a god, and I'm not perfect, and I actually need your guys' help too at times a lot.
I can progress faster if I have honest men below me that are trustworthy, that I can trust to tell me the truth when there's a blind spot that I can't see. Yeah, rather than just getting stuck in the fact that I'm on this pedestal and I know better than everybody. It's like that. That's just gonna hinder your progress in so many ways if you can't rely on the men around you to be honest with you.
Yeah, dude.
So
I love that. Dude, this is good stuff.
I fucking love it, dude.
You guys have to pay a lot of money for this. Oh, no.
Well, fuck yeah, Jace. I fucking appreciate you coming on, man, and I knew it was going to be fun. That's all we do, dude. We just have fun, dude.
I know. Well, you have to. Like, you have to have fun, bro. Like,
why wouldn't you?
Well, because, like, honestly, like, the fun is really the unlock. And, like, when people can get to a place where fun is actually with good intention and purity, like, that's where, like, the biggest, like, gifts and learning lessons and all the things start to come, because I think that we sometimes hone in on the seriousness, and we don't realize that, like, actually the deepest insights come when you're having fun, and because your guard's down, and there's no resistance when you're in fun mode. But it's also, what is your fun mode? Is your fun mode cover up, or is your fun mode avoidance, or is your fun mode because, dude, you're just freaking you love life, right? You're standing in gratitude, and like you're open. And, like, that's when I feel like we have these breakthroughs and we get to have these amazing discussions. Because, like, dude, there's no walls. Like, we're just, like, we're talking about real shit. Yeah. And it's cool. And it's just with love.
It's so funny when we see people that take life so seriously. And I'm like,
bummer.
Okay, you as God decided to create an experience for you that wasn't just for your full enjoyment. You were meant to come down here and suffer.
Like, yes.
Right?
It's
so interesting
Yeah.
To watch people and not to say that you aren't meant to experience pain and suffering on some level, but overall, your experience is meant to be enjoyed.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so find as much enjoyment out of it as you can.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point.
Yeah. And that's
Right?
that's what we want. It's like, go find it because it's there. It's there.
It's there in everything too.
Yes. Even the hard stuff.
Not just the happy, joyful stuff. It's there in everything. Like you can find that enjoyment and that fulfillment in the sadness, the grief, the suffering to some level, right? If you don't attach to it in the way that so many people attach to it and make it their identity of like, oh yeah, I have to suffer and like give me attention because I'm suffering.
It's like, okay. Yeah, I see you. Yeah, it's just like, I love that, bro, because I think that everyone thinks that like joy is like only attached to a certain experience or emotion, you know, and it's like, dude, it's actually bigger than that because it's like, it's a baseline actually.
Yeah.
You know, like joy is a baseline if you choose to make it the baseline. And then that's when you don't have to limit where the joy can be because it's like, oh, well, this is kind of a heavy situation here, so it can be no joy there. And it's like, why? Why not?
Find the gratitude.
Yeah.
Find the gratitude in everything.
Yeah.
Right? Find the gratitude in every experience that you're having, and you're seeing that everything is coming from love and everything is meant for your highest good. And then you can enjoy everything that comes your way to some level, you know, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, so it really comes down to gratitude and finding that the base canvas that the universe is built on is love.
Dude,
right?
I'm right there with you, bro. I love that.
Fucking love you, bro.
Dude,
Thank you for coming on. This was super fun.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Next time we'll do it with a bunch of the guys. We'll do 4 or 5 of us.
It'd be so fun.
Yeah.
We
We're
have some
gonna
great
get in
dudes.
the new space. Bro, I'm so
Dude,
excited.
podcast
We're gonna have
it's
so
be
much fun.
dude. It's gonna be fun. Fight jam, like I really love where everything's going because I feel like the dynamic of like balance, bro. And like it's one thing. This is fun, like right. I love giving guys insights and hearing their insights, and I love that. But it's also fun when you get to take it into the real world through action. Like, hey, dude, like it's also fun to learn some stuff. Like, do some things, help get your body more dialed in. Like, let's look at all the different areas like we can improve on. Like, right, with business, you know, health, like all the different things, right, and the spiritual side too, right? Like, understand yourself, diving into that side. Like, I really like where things are heading, and it's why, bro, I know that's why we have found each other, and we are both where we are at this point in our lives because we've kind of experienced that full circle, right? Yeah. Before we found each other. Right. It's just like we've experienced all those different things in life, and we've kind of been like, wow, that balance is really cool. Even when it's a darker side of the balance, like it's still all good. Yeah. You know, and like we try to be like, this is good, this is bad. It's like, no, it's all for you. Yeah. It's just like, dude, you're just moving through
your perception of it, and that which can be shifted because you're an infinitely powerful being 100%. That has that ability.
100%. And I feel that is, look what's happening when this, because like I almost hate to say this whole like label like men's group, you know, because it's just like it's just been slung around like everywhere. It's like, oh, it's men's group or coaching, and it's like, dude, I almost feel like it's so much more. But obviously, like that conscious warrior, right? I do like that. It's like we have men that are choosing and want to be conscious, right? They desire to be conscious, and we're here to help guide them through that because the consciousness happens not just through in our minds. It's like in our hearts, and it's in our doing. Yeah. It's like it's all together. It's one thing. It's symbiotic, and it's like we're helping men see that that consciousness can actually go out into the world with them. Through everything that they do and experience.
Every part of their experience.
Dude, I love that. And that's where I'm so excited about this, bro. Like, because, I mean, like I said, I have my hesitancy because I'm just like, dude, I'm busy. But, like we got to do it, bro. Like, we're seeing too many things happening right now. And I'm like, I just can't, bro. You know me. I'm like, nah, Jace ain't gonna put up with that. Dude, I won't. Yeah. I won't do it, dude. Yeah. We gotta hold other men accountable that are in this space through example. Yeah. And that's how we'll do it. Yeah.
Well, I'm super fucking grateful for you coming in, and because, you know, you're just such a great supplement to me, and you know, like I love teaching other men with you, and I also love learning from you, dude, because you can really come at me with that accountability. And that's the first time we met, dude. We sat down, I'm like, bro, I need this from you. I need you to be like fucking real with me and like show me my blind spots, and you've done that, dude. And so I really appreciate you, and I'm super fucking stoked about what we're doing, dude. It's gonna be so fun.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you. I hope you always know that. And like, you've helped me a lot and you know that. So like, thank you for just being a brother and then just being like completely like willing to just be there. And like, there's no walls. And I love that. I love that the vulnerability between us is what it is, because I know that that's how we are able to see each other's blind spots.
Right.
So thank you for that, bro.
Yeah. Appreciate you, bro. Where can people find you on Instagram?
You know,
we're going to get going on that Instagram.
Working on it, dude. I mean, like a couple years ago, I did YouTube and stuff. Like I did it for fun.
Go tell them about your YouTube channel.
It was called Full
cool.
Torque. Like I just did it with fun. My uncle, I have a concealed weapon holster company that we started years ago called Tier 1 Concealed. And Jared's just a freaking, I mean, dude, he's a badass. A lot of people out there know who Jared is, Jared Clausen. He's just, I mean, we grew up like brothers, like 5-6 years apart. Like we did everything together. And so it was really cool to be able to, you know, assist. I wasn't super involved in Tier 1 just because I was doing my dealership at the same time, but like I've been proud of seeing what he's done with that. And it was cool when he finally got to a point in his life for the first time ever to be able to have anything cool. And we just went out with our cars and we were just we were hood rats, dude, just doing all kinds of fun stuff. I was like, we should just start filming it because we had a media office at Tier 1 and we just started filming stuff. And obviously as Tier 1 got really big and I started growing, it was like we just couldn't keep it going. But like Full Torque is what it's called on YouTube. That was a few years ago. And then
if you're into cars, it's super cool.
Dude, I love cars. Like that's my big thing. I'm obviously big into cars, but I love life, and like I'm gonna try to do better with like I want people to try to experience some of what I get to have. Like I'm not gonna lie, my life's pretty fun. It's pretty cool, and so I should do myself a favor and document it more, just for myself to go back and look at. So I'm definitely, you've helped me with that and held me accountable. Like Jace, come on, dude, you do all this cool stuff and no one even knows, and you don't even know. I'm like, I know. I just like having fun though. But I'm gonna work on it. Moments of J is my Instagram.
Moments of Jace. Cool.
Yeah, it's
Moments of J.
Just moments of J.
Okay.
You know.
Fuck yeah! Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.